All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? I'm Brad. Welcome to That Makes Sense, the show about electronic music from the 80s, 90s to now, and synthesizers and vinyl records. I first of all, it's Easter, so when I'm recording this, it's Easter. So happy Easter to those of you that celebrate Easter. I wanted to, actually a few weeks ago, I made a video on the Depeche Mode vinyl box set of Black Celebration. This is a box set that contained the 12-inch mixes from that album. I recorded that in March of 2026. And what I didn't realize at the time was March 17th, 1986 was when that album was released in the UK. So it's the 40th anniversary of Black Celebration, if you can believe that, which I think is pretty nuts. So I thought it would be appropriate to talk about the album Black Celebration rather than just the 12-inch vinyl releases. So that's what I wanted to do today. And it's like, where do you go with Black Celebration after 40 years that hasn't been discussed about? So I can tell you my personal thoughts on Black Celebration and some stories about it, personal stories. It's my favorite Depeche Mode album. I think a lot of people will say Violator is their favorite, but I think some of the hardcore Depeche fans will say that Black Celebration is their favorite. I don't know. That's just a preference. But I will talk about it. Here's the vinyl. This is a reissue. I've showed this. But this is this picture right here is not. This is the cover that was used on Catching Up with Depeche Mode. This is at least on the US CD release of Black Celebration. This photo's not there. Here's the back of it. I don't know if I can get this out. Here's the sleeve. And one of the things is just all the symbols used in this album. They're all over this record. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but there's symbols on the left here, symbols on the right here. Probably can't see it. Now, these on the US album, on the CD album at least, I don't have the US vinyl from back in the day, but these symbols were not there. But it was on the UK and European releases. And I don't know, if you look on the paper here, there's symbols for each song. And I think that's just, I don't know why they did that, just a design thing. But I think it's cool. And I'll tell you, when Black Celebration originally came out, I was still pretty young. I was more into playing with my G.I. Joes rather than listening to music, but I was listening to music back then. Matter of fact, I remember, at least in 1984, I had a Fisher-Price radio. Ghostbusters had come out, Beverly Hills Cop had come out, and at my babysitter's house they would watch MTV, so that's how I had access to this music. So I did it, and I also Footloose came out, so I definitely was listening to music back then, but Depeche Mode was not played heavily on US mainstream radio. I probably would have had to listen to an alternative station to hear songs from Depeche Mode, especially from Black Celebration. I do know that they came to Ohio on the Black Celebration tour. I think they came to Cleveland because one of my teachers had saw them live. Um, so the way I didn't start listening to Depeche Mode until Violator had come out, so I didn't really start buying their albums until 1991 or so. But I can tell you the story of how I got the album. I was at a shopping mall in Cincinnati, and I think I had a couple of the cassette tape singles, maxi singles from Violator at the time, so I did have some Depeche Mode, but I didn't have any albums. My friend actually gave me the CD for Violator, I think by that time. So thanks, Ben, for giving me your old CD. But I wanted to hear more. I was just familiar with Violator, so I hadn't heard those older Depeche Mode albums. And I was at the mall at a music store in Cincinnati, and the lady that I was talking to, the lady that was working at the record store, I asked her. There's a bunch of the old Depeche Mode record or cassette tapes in the bargain bin, and I asked her what I should get, and I believe it was Black Celebration and Some Great Reward. Were the two that she recommended. And so, I bought them and listened to them in my Walkman or my little CD/cassette player boombox I think I had it at that time. And so, yeah, those two albums, of course, you go down the Depeche Mode rabbit hole and you just want more and more and more, at least for me. And so yeah, that's how I got into it. And so with the 40th anniversary, I'll just talk about a couple things. This was recorded in West Berlin, so it's one of the German albums recorded with Gareth Jones. They were still heavily into sampling, and I think people wonder why those early Depeche Mode records have a certain sound from Construction Time on to Songs of Faith and Devotion and Ultra, maybe even. It's because they use samplers heavily, and Depeche Mode was not a group that used like presets on synthesizers. They presets meaning like just the automatic sounds that you turn on a synthesizer, and the sounds that come up without messing with them are called presets. But Depeche Mode really shaped a model, molded their own sounds, especially with samples. So they would go out to places, or they make noise with pots and pans, or record things such as fireworks in this album, and record it with a tape recorder, and then put it to the synthesizer and make music like that. So I think that's why those albums sound unique and still hold up today. But anyways, I wanted to say a couple things that I forgot to say is when I record the original Black Celebration vinyl box set video, But Not Tonight is not on the European release of Black Celebration, and I think that's tragic because Black Celebration is a darker album. It's definitely moodier. Growing up in the U.S., I always heard "But Not Tonight" at the end of Black Celebration, and I didn't realize that the European version ended on New Dress. But Not Tonight, it's also from the movie Modern Girls. It's such an uplifting song that I think it really fits well with Black Celebration on that album, because it's a lot of dark things talking about New Dress, and and it's a dark song, all the tragic things going on in the world. But Princess dies wearing a new dress, which I could see in the British newspapers back in the day. But Tonight is such an uplifting song to end with on Black Celebration. Just a personal story on that. When 9/11 happened, yeah, I was in Cincinnati on 9/11, and I was actually going all around Cincinnati doing work for a TV station, doing some video shoots. And I got to see all these areas and just see the reaction of people around town. And it was very sobering and just depressing day. And that night, it was on a Tuesday, there's a dance club in Cincinnati that's called Vertigo, and at the time it's the longest running dance club in Cincinnati. It had been around since the 1960s, and they had an 80s alternative night on Tuesdays. So what I do, I went to that alternative dance night at Vertigo, and people weren't like partying up or anything, that's for sure. But it felt good just to be around people and just be together with people. And I remember they played the song "But Not Tonight," and yeah, it was just something uplifting on a really dark day, and so I'll never forget that. But anyways, my battery's dying, so let me power this off and we'll continue this discussion. Thanks. All right, everybody. I think my battery's charged at least a little bit for right now. Trying to get go to a more positive point. I think "But Not Tonight" is one of those songs that really I feel is an uplifting song, and it's one of those songs where if you're feeling depressed, you can listen to that album or listen to that song, and it'll make you feel better. So anyways, what else I want to say? Oh, one other thing about "But Not Tonight." If you've ever seen the music video, there's some video, like film, playing in the background, and that is from the movie Modern Girls. I've never seen that movie, but I think it also marks the first time a song was used, a Depeche Mode song was used in a movie soundtrack. So that's another interesting tidbit. So what else do I want to say about Black Celebration? I will say that it is the one thing that doesn't get discussed a lot is this album has more songs where Martin Gore is singing than any other Depeche Mode album. So it's a heavily Martin Gore album, at least for main vocals. Matter of fact, most Depeche Mode albums have maybe one or two songs, typically two songs that Martin sings, and then Dave, the lead frontman, sings most of those songs. But in Black Celebration, you actually have three songs back to back sung by Martin. "Question of Lust," "Sometimes," and "It Doesn't Matter Too," which is a unique thing about that album. The fourth song on the album where Martin sings is "World Full of Nothing," and then, sorry, my phone's ringing. One of the other things I want to say that I didn't mention with the Depeche Mode vinyl box sets is there's a awesome remix of "World Full of Nothing," a dance remix of all things, which you would never imagine that there's a great dance mix of "World Full of Nothing." But the electronic group Gabriel and Dresden did a remix of "World Full of Nothing." I don't know if you would consider that an official mix or something that they just put out or a bootleg mix, but It's not officially that I know of on any Depeche Mode releases, but it's out there. I'll try to put a link to the Gabriel and Dresden remix of World Full of Nothing. What else? So, just like a lot of Depeche Mode albums of that era, there was a heavy use of sampler technology being used. Probably, if you've ever listened to the beginning of the song Stripped, that's actually, the story goes that it's a motor starting. It's actually the engine of Dave Gaughan's 911 Porsche at the time, and he's starting up the car. So that's the engine running, I believe. And I've also read that there's a motorbike sound in Stripped, as well as fireworks. They recorded fireworks and put that in there. I wanted to talk real quick about the song Dressed in Black, which I think is an awesome song. I always thought that it was like a waltz, which makes it a unique song in that regard because it has this like 3/4 rhythm to it. 1 2 3 2 2 3 3 2 3 4 2 3, and you totally could do a waltz dance to Dressed in Black. You imagine yourself doing a waltz with a woman dressed in black. But yeah, just something that I think, little observation, little tidbit. Finally, I wanted to show this right here. This is in 2006, 2007-ish, Depeche Mode released surround sound mixes of all their albums up to that point. So there is actually a surround sound mix of Black Celebration. And unfortunately, it's just, so it contains the CD of Black Celebration. It's newly remastered. Contains a short film called The Songs Aren't Good Enough. There aren't any singles and it'll never get played on the radio, which was actually a very real concern from Daniel Miller at the time, because it's Black Celebration like has a lot of these kind of like short songs, but yeah, they were very concerned about the commercial success of Black Celebration. And it also, I wanted to say something that Black Celebration's like the first, well, I shouldn't say first, but it's an album. The reason why I like it is an album that you can listen to all the way through, and it blends itself into, like one song blends itself into another song. That's something that I wish Depeche Mode would still do. I think in the past two albums, they haven't had that sort of mixing from one song to another, or even like interludes. That's something I miss, and I wish they would put that back. But anyways, the surround sound mix, it's on DVD actually. You have to listen to the surround sound on DVD. But it's the European version of the album, so it doesn't contain a surround sound mix of But Not Tonight. Also, it contains some live tracks that are in surround sound. Black Celebration, A Question of Time, and Stripped, recorded in Birmingham of April 1986. The bad thing about these Depeche surround sound mixes, though, they contain a bunch of B-sides or other songs, but they didn't put them in surround sound. They didn't mix them in surround sound. The additional tracks on this are Shake the Disease, Flexible, It's Called a Heart, Fly on the Windscreen, But Not Tonight, Breathing in Fumes, Black Day, and Christmas Island. So unfortunately, there's no surround sound mixes of that. I will just say, if you've never heard the surround sound mix of Black Celebration, if you're able to get a copy or listen to a copy, I'd say go for it, because I think it's probably, I've listened to all the surround sound mixes, except for the one that came out for, I think, Spirit, I can't remember, or Delta Machine. But the surround sound mix sounds awesome. I know that I don't know if it's from the surround sound or just the surround sound mix was mixed a little bit differently than the original album, but there are parts that like I never heard with the original album. Maybe the mix just makes those parts stand out. Um, I particularly remember that hearing different things with "It Doesn't Matter" too. So my two favorite surround sound mixes are Speak and Spell, and then probably my second one is Black Celebration. With Speak and Spell, I think they really went all out with the surround mix of it. Maybe taking a little bit more chances than opposed to more well-known albums such as Violator. I don't know, but Depeche Mode certainly lends itself of any band out there. A band like Depeche Mode would lend itself to having an album released in surround sound. So if you've never heard it before, do yourself a favor and listen to it. And I think that ends my talk on Black Celebration. Happy 40th anniversary. So thanks, everybody. Hey everyone, I forgot to include some, I think, crucial pieces of information about Black Celebration that I forgot to include, and that was the synthesizers used on the album. So this is based off Reddit, and I've read this information before, so I think it's pretty accurate. The Emu Emulator 2 sampler, which was used on most every Depeche Mode album from Black Celebration, at least till Violator, well, even Songs of Faith and Devotion. They used the Emulator 3 by that point, but they used Emulator samplers, which are the synths that are used to take the recorded sounds of different things and then make it musical. For the industrial textures, the Synclavier 2 was used for complex sequencing and percussion. The ARP 2600 was used for bass leads alongside the Roland Juno 106, which I would assume was probably for some pad sort of sounds, and then the Oberheim OB8 and the Yamaha DX7. The PPG Wave, and then the drum machine, the Emu Drumulator was used, I've heard. So just wanted to let you know that if you're trying to recreate that Black Celebration sound, Arturia, who is a French company that makes software synthesizers and hardware synths, Arturia has a collection of software synths called the Vintage Collection. And in that, it has almost everything on there, including the Emu Emulator 2, a software version of it where you can bring in samples, the ARP 2600, the Synclavier, Juno 106, there's an Oberheim OB8, and the Yamaha DX7. So if you wanted to recreate Black Celebration, all those synths, virtual synths, are in that Arturia Vintage Collection. And I know, at least in the US, if you look right around Christmas time, that thing always goes on sale. So I just wanted to point that out there. And anyways, thank you very much.